Congress just finished some of the most consequential Homeland Security budget hearings in years, and what came out of those rooms could change how millions of immigrants, visa applicants, and green card holders are processed in the United States. We're talking about border enforcement funding, legal immigration slowdowns, visa backlogs, and a major shakeup in asylum policy, all debated openly before a Senate committee in 2026. If you are waiting on a visa, applying for a green card, or planning to travel to the US, you cannot afford to miss this video. Stay with us until the very end, because the fifth takeaway could directly affect your immigration timeline. Welcome to Global Immigration Scope, your trusted source for accurate, up-to-date immigration news. I'm your host, and today we're breaking down the top 5 takeaways from the 2026 Homeland Security Department budget hearings held before the United States Senate and House Appropriations Committees. These hearings are where the Secretary of Homeland Security and senior officials from agencies like USCIS, CBP, and ICE testify about how they plan to use billions of dollars in taxpayer funding and what their priorities will be for the coming year. Everything we're covering today is based on official government testimony, publicly available budget proposals, and statements from USCIS and DHS leadership. We have verified this information from official immigration sources so you can trust what you're hearing. Let's get straight into it. So what exactly happened at these hearings? In early 2026, the Department of Homeland Security appeared before congressional committees to defend its proposed budget for fiscal year 2027. These are not just numbers on a page. Each dollar amount attached to an agency signals a political and operational priority where the government intends to focus its energy. What emerged from the testimony was a clear picture. The administration is doubling down on enforcement at the border while also pushing for technology-driven improvements inside USCIS to reduce the infamous immigration backlog. At the same time, there were heated exchanges between committee members and DHS officials over asylum processing timelines, the status of humanitarian immigration pathways, and whether legal immigration applications are getting enough attention compared to enforcement operations. The hearings affect virtually every category of immigrant, from people applying for family-based green cards to H-1B workers waiting on their employment authorization, to asylum seekers whose cases have been pending for years. These changes are being implemented on a rolling basis, with most budget shifts expected to take effect in the second half of 2026 and into 2027. Specific USCIS fee structures and processing priorities tied to the new budget are expected to be announced in the coming months. Now let's get to the heart of this video, the 5 most important things you need to know from these hearings. The DHS budget request proposes a significant increase in funding for customs and border protection and immigration and customs enforcement. Lawmakers were told the money will go toward additional border agents, detention facilities, surveillance technology, and deportation operations. For legal immigrants, this signals that enforcement-side operations will be heavily prioritized in terms of government attention and staffing, which can sometimes come at the expense of resources directed toward legal immigration processing. If you have a pending removal case or have any immigration violations, this is a critical time to consult an immigration attorney. USCIS officials testified that the agency is investing in digital transformation, moving more applications online, automating routine adjudications, and reducing paper-based processing. The good news, this could shorten waiting times for some application types in the long run. The catch. Much of this investment is being funded through fee increases that are already in effect from late 2024 and early 2025. DHS confirmed that further fee adjustments may be reviewed depending on congressional funding decisions. If you are planning to file any immigration application, including an I-130, I-485, or naturalization petition, check the USCIS fee schedule at uscis.gov before you file to avoid rejection. One of the most heated moments of the hearings was a debate over asylum. Congressional members pressed DHS officials on the growing backlog of asylum cases, which currently numbers in the hundreds of thousands. DHS proposed a combination of additional immigration judges funded through the Department of Justice, faster credible fear screenings at the border, and limitations on certain grounds for asylum claims. For anyone currently in asylum proceedings or planning to apply, be prepared for longer wait times, increased scrutiny of your application, and more frequent requests for evidence. Legal representation has never been more important than right now. Lawmakers raised questions about the years-long backlog in employment-based green card categories, particularly EB2 and EB3 for applicants from India and China, where wait times can exceed a decade. USCIS officials acknowledged the problem and pointed to legislative solutions such as eliminating per-country caps as a long-term fix, but no administrative action was announced. For H-1B visa holders, the message is clear. Continue maintaining your legal status carefully, ensure your employer files timely extensions, and consult with an attorney about any gaps in your authorization. Green card priority dates are not expected to advance significantly in the near term. Perhaps the most consequential takeaway for vulnerable immigrant communities: humanitarian programs including refugee admissions, temporary protected status renewals, and humanitarian parole pathways came under serious budget pressure during the hearings. Some committee members pushed to cut funding for these programs, while others defended them. What this means practically: if you or a family member depends on TPS, has a pending refugee case, or holds a humanitarian parole status, monitor official announcements from USCIS and the State Department very closely over the next several months. Any legislative action to cut these programs could have immediate and serious consequences for your immigration status. Let's step back and think about what all of this means for real people. For those waiting on family-based green cards or citizenship applications, the USCIS technology investments are a positive sign for the long term, but don't expect overnight improvements. Processing times will likely remain long throughout 2026. For employment-based visa holders, particularly those from countries with long backlogs, there is no immediate relief coming from these hearings. The hope remains with Congress passing broader immigration reform, which has been elusive for years. For asylum seekers and humanitarian immigrants, the situation demands vigilance. Budget politics can move quickly, and a change in funding can translate directly into changes in how your case is handled or whether your status is renewed. The key message: stay proactive, stay informed, and if your immigration status is in any way uncertain, get qualified legal advice as soon as possible. These are not abstract policy changes. They have real consequences for real families. Looking ahead, here is our expert analysis of what we expect to see in U.S. immigration policy over the coming months. First, the enforcement-heavy budget orientation is unlikely to change significantly, regardless of how congressional negotiations evolve. Both parties have shown a willingness to fund border security, even when they disagree on humanitarian policy. Second, we anticipate USCIS will publish updated processing time estimates and possibly revised fee schedules in the second and third quarters of 2026. Watch the USCIS website closely. Third, the fate of humanitarian programs will likely be determined through appropriations negotiations in late 2026. These programs have survived budget battles before, but the political climate is more competitive than ever. Finally, and this is important, any major shift in U.S. immigration law ultimately requires an act of Congress. Administrative actions can adjust priorities and processes, but structural reforms like eliminating the per-country cap require legislation. Until that happens, millions of immigrants will continue to navigate a system that simply was not designed for the volume of applications it receives today. We will continue to monitor these developments and bring you updates as they happen. Make sure you are subscribed so you never miss a critical change. Let's do a quick recap of the 5 key takeaways from the 2026 Homeland Security budget hearings. 1. Border enforcement is getting a major funding boost, with serious implications for those with any violations in their history. 2. USCIS is investing in technology, funded partly by higher application fees. 3. Asylum processing faces longer delays and tighter scrutiny. 4. Employment-based backlogs persist with no immediate fix in sight. 5. Humanitarian programs like TPS and refugee admissions are under real funding pressure. If this video helped you understand what is happening with U.S. immigration right now, please give it a like. It helps more people find this information when they need it most. Drop your questions in the comments below. Our team reads every comment, and we may feature your question in an upcoming video. Thank you for watching Global Immigration Scope. Stay informed and subscribe for the latest immigration news and visa updates from around the world.